what's going on, beautiful people? It is I, your sister from another Mr. Thick Chick Blogs, and I am sitting here working, but I had some breaking news, girl. And of course, I have been following this story, and I told you guys that I would be following this story. And I decided to come here and let you guys know more about this whole Duggar situation because, you know, if you guys haven't watched my vlog channel, you probably wouldn't know this, but most of you guys that are over here do watch my vlog channel. But I am very, very disgusted when it comes to child molesters and things like that. I don't care how old you were or how old you are. I'm just very disgusted with predators. So things like this are very, very passionate to me, and I'm very, you know, I'm one of those types of people that I feel like if you do this type of stuff, you need to be punished. All right, so some disturbing information has come out regarding the Duggar situation, and what really disturbs me personally is the fact that Jim and Michelle Duggar it's almost like they're making excuses for their son, Josh Duggar. They recently did an interview because they said that they were ready to speak out on the situation, and they pretty much just wanted to, I guess, clear the air because they feel like this was the headline. They can't do this to us. We are victims too. Excuse me, sir, and excuse me, madam, but you are not a victim. If anybody is a victim in this situation, it is the girls that he touched. It has absolutely nothing to do with you or him. Granted, he was 14 years old. I understand he was young. I get it. I completely get it. But don't sit here and try to make it seem like you're a victim now that your show is canceled. And now you're going to be losing millions and millions of dollars. I'm almost starting to think you guys are a freaking cult, okay? I'm almost starting to think that you're a freaking cult. Of course, you know, you tell your children that a marriage, there should be no sort of birth control inside of a married bed. I understand that, okay, because you feel like it's biblical and the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. But come on, ma'am, you have 19 children, okay, and you, from my understanding, you said you and your husband do not use birth control. Therefore, if you end up getting pregnant again, you're going to have more children. And what I think is so unfair when it comes to these types of situations is that the older children end up having to, quote unquote, be babysitters for their younger brothers and sisters. That is not fair because you got so many freaking kids that you can't take care of yourself. And they even said themselves that they're babysitters. They have to, you know, a lot of times they have to, you know, feed their little brothers and sisters. They have to do all these things, and not saying that that is so wrong to where the, you know, the older kids can't help out or anything like that. But it's just, I mean, it's wrong to make a child basically take care of your responsibilities. And of course, more and more things are coming out about this whole family that is really, really disturbing. And like I said, I'm pretty sure as they start digging deeper, they're going to find more and more evidence that these people ain't nothing but a cult, and they got a whole lot of skeletons in their closet. So I'm about to read to you a little bit of this excerpt that came from Fox News, from where they did an interview. And I got this off of TMZ, by the way. So it says, if you missed Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar telling all of their family secrets last night on the Kelly File, then consider yourself lucky because it was a disgusting, appalling mess of an interview. Here's a bit in Jim Bob's own words. So this is Jim Bob's exact words, okay? This is nothing that I'm making up or anything like that. These are Jim Bob's exact words. Here's what he said. Josh came to us. He was crying. He had just turned 14, and he said he had improperly touched some of our daughters. He said he was just curious about girls, and he had gone in and just basically touched them over their clothes while they were sleeping. They didn't even know he had done it. Okay, so that kind of language is used throughout the interview. By the way, he had just turned 14, quote unquote, because he was a child himself, quote unquote. He was so young, quote unquote. It happened a dozen years ago, quote unquote. It's not so bad, quote unquote. Now, these are the things that he is saying. Those are the type of terminology that he's using. Now, if we're going to use that type of terminology, will you use that type of terminology on any sex offender out there, any child molester out there? You have a lot of children out here that are in juvenile detention facilities for touching family members, because a lot of, now I'm not saying all the time, because maybe it's not all the time, but most times when you have children that do these disturbing things like this, they grow up to do it as adults. Okay, they grow up to do this stuff as adults, and some type of counseling needs to be done. And from my understanding, the only counseling that you took this child to get at the time he was a child, the only counseling that you took him to get, you took him to the family pastor, you said. And the family pastor, they all kept this stuff a secret. Nobody ever said anything or anything like that. Okay, cool, whatever. But you said you did this for the summer. And then Josh Duggar did it again. And that's when you went to your, the sheriff, the state trooper that was a family friend. Okay. And this state trooper that was a family friend was supposed to scare Josh Duggar into, telling him all the bad things that could happen to him by him, touching his sisters, how he can go to prison. And basically he was just supposed to scare the boy. Come to find out that this state trooper was a sex offender himself, and he is now serving like 50-something years in a prison for having a bunch of child porn on his computer and molesting people. I don't know if he molested them, but I know he's serving 50-something years for molestation or child porn or something like that. He's serving 50-something years. So this is the person that you confide in, okay, to quote unquote scare your child. Now, that just seems a little weird to me, that you would go to this particular state trooper and this state trooper would just so happen to end up in jail. Okay. This state trooper would just so happen to end up in jail for the exact same thing. Peculiar, right? So, okay, let me continue reading. All right. So, that's the tone they used the entire time. Like I said, because he was a child and stuff, he was so young, it's not that bad and all that stuff. So, he said the victims, his sisters, didn't even know he had done it. So because they didn't know, how could they blame him? You know what I'm saying? So basically he's saying that ain't no way his daughters can blame him for doing something since they didn't know he did it. So you mean to tell me if I'm in my bed asleep and somebody is sexually touching me without my knowledge, because I don't know that they're doing it, I can't blame them for doing it? What the hell? If you come to me and you admit to me that you sexually did something to me in my sleep without my knowledge, sir, that is punishable. What the hell? I mean, I'm just really confused by this. Now, let me continue reading, okay? How could you want to cancel their show and ruin their empire because of something a young boy did to victims that didn't even realize it? So, did you hear what he just said? He said, how can you ruin their lives and cancel, quote unquote, their empire for something that someone did to them that they didn't even know happened? So, did you just hear that? Basically, he's not really worried about the fact that, okay, the girls didn't know that he did it. Okay, they didn't know. So you shouldn't cancel their empire. No, sir and madam, you are not wanting them to cancel your empire. Okay, granted, the girls are benefiting from this. Yes, they are. But you guys are money hungry. I'm not going to call y'all pieces of crap. I'm not, because you know, I don't know you like that. But when you get people out there that will say that things like this are okay, it's not okay. I'm not saying the boy needs to go to jail. Okay, that is definitely not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that he needs to be investigated thoroughly to make sure that he is a quote unquote fit person to be in the situation that he's in now. Because like I said, a lot of times when you have people that do that stuff in their adolescence, they grow up to do that stuff in their adulthood. It's not normal for a person to want to touch their relative. It's not normal. It just isn't. So that's all I'm saying. But let me read on. Okay, it says, speaking of victims, which as we see later in the interview include Jill and Jessa, which are two of his sisters, who interestingly do refer to themselves as victims. So they do refer to themselves as victims, even though mom and dad say he was so young, you know, they didn't know that he did this to them. So we should basically look over it. So it says, there were additional occasions described in which Josh would creep behind the couch and do the same kind of inappropriate touching, sometimes while the girls were awake. After Josh did this to a younger girl, that's when Jim Bob and Michelle took serious action. But As they were quick to point out, while the girl was awake, she was too young to understand what happened. So do you understand? Do you hear this? They're saying this girl, she don't know what it was. She don't know what it meant by him touching her. So does that justify what the freak that he did? Okay. They spoke about many things that we already knew. Josh went to counseling. Jim Bob turned Josh into a police officer who currently serving time in prison for child pornography charges. They're real sorry. But the most alarming thing throughout the interview was their outlook on the situation. They actually implied that the news of the molestations breaking violated the girls more than Josh's original crimes. That their angle, it seems that those poor Duggars had their privacy so invaded, and it's so traumatizing for them all. They're discussing suing the people who leaked original reports. So it seems like they're taking more action than they did when with Josh. Okay. So it says, oh, and just in case you're curious, Michelle doesn't understand the people who are calling her and her family hypocrites. And she still very much believes that children need to be protected from transgender people. Okay. And Jim Bob says that he read that pedophiles are 16 years old and up. So since Josh was 14 and 15 when he committed his crimes, he is in the clear. Seriously, these are things that these people believe, y'all. These are things that these people believe. When this story first came out, I was disgusted by Josh and his actions. But now, you know, we know that Jim Bob and Michelle deserve a lot of that disgust too. Like, you know, you would put more of that on the mom and dad when this boy is 14. Now, I'm not saying we're going to put his actions on the mother and father. That's not what I'm saying. But mom and dad could have took more action than they did. They could have got this child some type of serious help or whatever, besides just taking him to the pastor, boo. Besides taking him to the pastor for a little bit of counseling. No, you could have got this boy some serious help. But you thinking, okay, he's just 14. He's just curious. Sir and madam. No. Okay, sir and madam. That's why I'm so glad that they are investigating y'all to the fullest capacity of anything. Because it's more that's going to come out about this whole situation right here. But the fact that they were saying a whole lot, he was so young. We're victims. I can't believe that you're ruining our empire. Look, okay. Look, I'm just going to say this one time and one time only. I'm interested in seeing what is going to come out. Because I already know they got a whole lot of more skeletons in their closet. A whole lot more skeletons in their closet that's going to be coming out. And apparently this stuff got leaked from a book that they had that somebody borrowed from the family. And they had all this stuff, the details of this stuff written down in this book. And the person that they loaned the book to spilled the beans. So, yeah. So, I guess that's who you're going to end up suing. But come to find out that Oprah Winfrey wanted to do an interview with them a while back. But when she found out about these allegations, some type of valuable document that she had, she sent it over to the feds. She was like, yeah, y'all need to be investigating these folks because something ain't right in the water. So, I will definitely be doing more of these reviews on this whole Duggar situation because I'm just disgusted. I am. And I'll talk to y'all next time, family. Peace. Y'all leave in the comment section down below what you think about this situation and these disturbing allegations and things that continue to come forth. Talk to you in the next one. Bye.